She has turned her own infertility struggles and answered embryo adoption prayer into a heart for helping others who are struggling. And she is helping them in a very concrete, potentially life-changing way. We're going to be talking with Casey Doherty today here on the Embryo Adoption Podcast. It's brought to you by the National Embryo Donation Center. You can find out more about the NEDC and its work by going to embryodonation.org. Again, that's embryodonation.org. I'm Mark Mellinger, your host and the Marketing and Development Director for the NEDC. Casey, it's so good to talk with you. We have known each other for years, and always good to see your face and hear your voice.
Thank you. It's good to talk to you.
You and Kyle and Sam, your NEDC baby, who is nowhere close to a baby anymore, have
no, he is not.
Well, you have a special place in the NEDC family. So what I want to do is I do want to talk about your journey through the NEDC and what you're doing now as you use the events that have accumulated in your life, including your own infertility struggle and your own life-affirming views, to really help other people. So we'll get there very soon. But I want to start at the very beginning, before you ever came to the NEDC. It's always interesting to hear how people find us and what led them to us. And I know you and Kyle, when you first got married, had a very long, frustrating few years. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kyle and I, we have both had this mutual goal since before we got married. We knew that we had the biggest desire to be parents. I have always wanted to be a mother. He has always wanted to be a father. And so we knew that once we were married, we wanted to start our family. And of course, that was a lot more trials than we expected. And we found out a lot of different information through various doctors. But while we were kind of considering being a home, not necessarily a foster home, but a similar scenario as an adoptive home, we were kind of just exhausted, through all of the avenues we've looked through and all of the doctors that we've talked to. And I was just Googling one day, just what can we do? What other options are out there? And I happened to come across the NEDC and I was like, well, what is this? And so I started looking into it and I was like, oh, I don't know anything about this. I've never been to Knoxville. I need to tell Kyle. So I called him at work and I said, babe, I have something that I want to show you whenever you get home. And he's like, okay. He knows if I get those calls, he's like, oh no, what are we doing now? So he came home and we discussed it and we looked at everything and we looked at all the FAQs and trying to get as much information as we could. And we're like, let's try this. Let's, why not? Let's try this. And so we talked to family about it and they're like, we don't know anything about this. Like, are you sure? We're like, you know what? We're going to try. If we go out there and this is where we're supposed to be, then we'll know. And so we called and we made the consultation appointment. And let me see, we called in September and it was scheduled for December or something like that. And then we got a call back the following week saying, hey, we had a cancellation. Can you be here in 2 weeks? And we're like, we will be there. See you then. Yeah. So we were able to go and just immediately, as soon as we got there, just walking into the doors, everyone was so wonderful and welcoming. We had complete peace about the entire process. And as we went through each and every step, everything was explained so well to us. I mean, even down to the money that we would be spending or what we would be paying for, or, what we wouldn't be paying for, or every step was completely laid out and explained to us. And that didn't change throughout the entire process. And that was a huge comfort and sigh of relief for us, because sometimes you go through these processes and it's not necessarily as clearly drawn out for you. There's, surprise fees or surprise things that you have to pay for that are not cheap. So everyone that we talked to and met was just so wonderful. And Dr. Keenan was so great. He explained everything to us, told us what the process looked like, how things would go. So we went through all of the necessary steps to get medically cleared. And then once we went through that, we were able to pick out embryos. And so when we did, I received the files for the embryos. And Kyle received the files for the embryos. And he was at work. And I said, you pick your top 5, I'll pick my top 5. So then we got home after he got to work. Okay, what are your top 5? Well, we had to send in like our top 3 choices or something. And so our top 3 out of the 5 were the exact same.
Wow.
So we're like, okay, well, done. So we sent them in, and our very first choice just happened to have multiple embryos in it. So we didn't actually need choice 2 or 3. So we stuck with choice 1, and it was great. And I was able to go. I went through all of my necessary steps and my protocol, and then we went back in January and I got pregnant, and it was wonderful. And I had the most wonderful pregnancy. I know not everyone does, but I was so thankful. And it was just so fun the entire time because the wait was over.
The wait was over.
Apparently, we picked a basketball player because he ran out of room very quickly, and then he wanted to be here early. So it's been awesome.
And that's Sam. That's Sam, your NEDC son. How old is Sam now?
Sam just turned 8 in September.
Man, yes. Hard to believe.
He just turned 8.
You got to tell me about him a little bit. I mean, I've obviously met him several times, but tell the folks who don't know. I mean, he's a healthy little kid. I know he was all over the inflatables at our 1000th baby celebration. So he's all boy.
Yes, he absolutely is. So he's so creative. He loves to build and to do Legos and those discovery kits and any of the STEM, the little STEM kits to put together. He loves those so much. He's super tall and athletic. When we looked through the profiles, we looked at the health of these profiles and what that might look like. I mean, we didn't even really care what was, eye color, hair color. I mean, we didn't even hardly pay attention to that. He happens to look just like us. And I know a lot of that, I'm sure, is environmental, but he looks just like us. He's picked up a little bit of Kyle's sass too. But he is super athletic. He plays football, basketball, lacrosse. He's played soccer. He's played baseball. He just loves all sports, all things boy. He's all about it. And he just turned 8, and he's 4'6", 4'7". So
yeah, he'll be
taller
a big
than
kid.
me next week. Yes. I think he was like one of the biggest kids when we went to the 1000 baby celebration.
I'm quite sure that he was. I think that's right. Yeah, he had to have been, and it's great. Yeah, it's great to see him grow like he has since when I first met him, which was probably about 6.5 years ago or so.
Yes.
He was a little kid then.
He was little. Yes.
It just reminds you how fast it goes. It goes really, really fast. But we're so happy for you guys and what God brought you through the NEDC.
I mean, we couldn't do it without you guys.
Well, hey, it's our privilege, and you know that. And you mentioned that you struggled with infertility for like 3 years before. You weren't sure exactly where you were going to go with that. You and Kyle, I know, have a very strong faith. You have very life affirming views of babies in the womb. So I mentioned at the outset, you have sort of taken all that. You've taken your experience, and you live in, and I don't think you mind me telling people this, you live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, which is great territory. And you, through your church, have been heading up a program with the Hope Pregnancy Center of Tulsa, and those Hope Pregnancy Centers just do terrific work. So tell me how you're using everything God has brought you through to this point to help others.
So a lot of my passion stems from our infertility and all of the knowledge that we have gained through every little teeny tiny thing that it takes to create this life. And just seeing Sam as an embryo, and once I was pregnant, then seeing every step of even seeing his fetal pole being developed, and seeing his brain, and seeing his little heartbeat for the first time from the very beginning was just incredible. And it's something that not every pregnant woman gets to see from the very beginning. And so I have such a passion for telling our story of the NADC and our embryo adoption, because that was something that God kind of placed on my lap that was unexpected. But how many other people out there have no idea that there's embryo adoption and donation? Those couples that are out there that have these remaining embryos, what are they going to do with them? But it's a life. They don't want to kill them. They don't want to donate them to science. They don't want to destroy them. So what do they do with them? You know? And so it was such a blessing for us to find this. And we've always been very passionate about sharing our story. So
you've shared it many times and in many formats on behalf of us. So I've joked before, I feel like I should put you on the payroll. Unfortunately, I don't have that capacity, but you guys have been just great volunteers for the NEDC. So yes, I can affirm that you and here you are doing it again.
Yes, absolutely. Anytime. But I mean, if we didn't share our story and what the NEDC has done for us, what God has done for us, then we cannot help those other people. We've been able to help people that we didn't even know that we helped. We hear it months down the line. They may have already been to the NEDC and we have no idea. And it's wonderful. I mean, I feel so blessed to be able to help other people. Like, that's all I want, is to be able to help other people, because it is so frustrating and so sad and so disheartening, and you feel so lost in these times of infertility. And you just see, it seems like everyone around you is pregnant, you know, when you're going through these most difficult times where you may or may not have answers, but this is a little tiny piece of hope that's not necessarily for everyone, but it is for a lot of people. So I have this passion and desire to share this story, but through the church, we have partnered with Hope Pregnancy Center of Tulsa, and that has kind of allowed me to take more of a leadership role with them. I love them so much. They're so wonderful. But I've been able to take more of a leadership role with them. And our ultimate goal between the church and Hope Pregnancy Center is to create a mentorship relationship. That way we can help these clients know that they're not alone, that they choose life, they decide they want to be parents with this unexpected pregnancy, that we're there for them. We don't have to know them. We don't have to have anything, to do with them previously, but we can provide snacks. We can do community nights. We can go and just help love on them and support them when they are also going through a difficult time. They have made the ultimate decision to choose life, just like we did. We chose life through the NEDC, through a clump of cells, 5 days past conception. That is now my 8-year-old down the street at school, And so I just look at him every day like, you were a clump of cells. The day that I got to meet you, there was no heartbeat, there was no brain, there was nothing. It was cells. But that is my son, And not everyone understands that to that level necessarily. And it's difficult to understand. I mean, it does get very complicated, but there's so many different things that have to align, that God aligns just right for a person to be created. And if I can be a part of that, then that means everything to me.
So it's great. You're helping these, in almost all cases, I would assume, women with unplanned pregnancies. So you're helping mentor them. And you've mentioned that you've really taken a leadership role. I mean, and that includes, that's not just scheduling things, it's not just being a mentor yourself. Like you've had to do fundraisers and stuff, right?
Yes.
And you've had some success with that.
Yes. So just recently, my church, we helped with their annual fall fundraiser. And so we were able to raise an amazing amount of money for Hope Pregnancy Center of Tulsa for them to continue their good work. And we're more than happy to host and to help and do anything that we can to help provide that for them. We have done a community night for them in the past where they invite their clients, their current clients, their alumni, and we're able to go, we feed them, we love on them, we provide a guest speaker, and then we get to love on babies while they get to listen to the speaker and just kind of help them promote something better for themselves. And to know that there is a community out there, that we are out there helping support them in their difficult time.
How have you seen God, and I know you've not been doing it that long, but how have you seen God work through this ministry so far?
Oh my goodness. I know, just speaking with Hope, they have seen a remarkable number of women and men throughout even the pandemic. They have been able to see countless number of people, and they're continuing to grow and expand so that they can help more and more individuals in Tulsa and the surrounding areas. The relationships that I have built and that I have met and the stories that I have heard of God doing work, I'm able to share those stories as well and help people with somebody else's story. And so there's so many different things that God has done and that we have been able to see and do, and just in my small amount of time helping Hope Pregnancy Center through the church.
And I want to end it here. I mean, I'm guessing, Casey, you probably, before you got married, which, was a while ago. So we're going back, 15 years or so, but you probably didn't see yourself necessarily as someone who was wired to do all this, who would be doing all this. I don't know, maybe you did see yourself sort of partially wired to do this, but it took the journey. It took the journey for God to bring you here. What would you say to other embryo adoption parents who may be wondering, well, what might God have for me besides having the joy of having a child and building a family, which obviously is the primary benefit and joy in embryo adoption. But it's not insignificant that your story can be used to help others in all kinds of ways. For somebody who's thinking, gosh, my life is now, this is the time to do something. I'm sort of feeling that pull. Are there thought processes you'd encourage them to go through, questions you'd invite them to ask themselves, ask God? What?
Yeah. Kyle and I, we definitely did not see this coming at all. When we started going through all of our infertility stuff and starting to kind of go through all the testing and everything that's involved, it was just like, okay, at the time when you're in such a confusing and sad and difficult moment, You can't see past that. And you can't give up hope that there's not something else out there. There's always something else or somebody else out there that has gone through the same thing, that has experienced the same thing as you, or has already been there and can help you see that you can move forward. And that was really difficult for us to kind of try to still push through and see what we could do next. And when we were just at such a sad point, God just kind of placed this in our lap. Like, okay, you know what? Take the chance. Keep looking. Don't give up. You know, God is with you. Pray and be close to God. Know that there are other people out there. You have a huge support system, even if you don't know it. Because whatever happens, whatever your story ends up being, whatever the outcome, your story helps other people. And that is something that we didn't know, that we were going to have a story, you know, that we would have a testimony to share about embryo adoption and donation. We had no idea. But now that we are here and we're on the other side of the story, we understand how incredibly important it is to share this. I can't tell you how many times I've shared this with one-on-one conversations, or, you know, we've done some stuff with you guys in the past, and we will forever continue to, because our story always needs to be told for other people that need that hope. So pray, don't give up, keep trying, and know that one day you're going to be on the other side of the story.
Yeah. And nothing communicates like the power of story. We've seen it just over and over again, how God uses stories of NEDC families like yourself to bring some people to embryo adoption, to just guide others to other options that he has for them, and help clarify their journey. And there's value in all that. It doesn't have to be that everybody who hears an embryo adoption story has to come here to the NEDC, that this is how God builds their family. That may not be what he has, but it can be clarifying. And above all, it can be encouraging. It is so, when you're going through such a hard time, it's always great to hear there's somebody who cares. There's somebody who gets it.
Absolutely.
I've been there, right?
Yes. That makes all the difference, from feeling so alone to, okay, there are other people that know exactly how I'm feeling, exactly what this means in this moment. And that makes all the difference. Well, maybe some of you who are watching or listening to this will be prayerfully considering whether you should share your story, or if there's some other way that you can serve that would incorporate the accumulated experience that you've had as either an embryo donor or an embryo adopter, or just somebody who supports the cause and wants to make a difference. We hope and pray that this will give you some inspiration to do some searching and see what God might have for you. Casey, thanks so much. It's always really good to talk with you. Really appreciate the time. No problem. Good to talk to you, Mark. Again, if you want to find out more about the National Embryo Donation Center, you can go to our website. It's embryodonation.org. Again, embryodonation.org. I'm Mark Mellinger, and this has been the Embryo Adoption Podcast.